Hey everyone, welcome to our very first episode of our new show called Conversations Abroad. And on this very special episode, we have a guest. He's an AGWM missionary from Thailand. His name is Nick Serban.
It's probably going to look very awkward because I'm looking at this, but it's just a little bit under over here. But I'm hoping, what we do over here is that basically, what I'm hoping to do is I want to open up a community. I feel like during my time of PFO, during my itineration, I've had a lot of good, mature people that were on the field. It's my first time ever stepping out of the country. And what I'm trying to do is just open up community. So I just wanted to say thank you, Nick Serban, helping us out, sharing some wisdom. So the purpose of this video over here is that we want to get a glimpse of what you guys exactly do in Thailand. So first and foremost, what's primarily your mission?
Yeah, well, I mean, right now we've been here about 9-10 months in Bangkok, Thailand, and so I mean, our primary mission obviously is to reach the lost and plant churches. But in order for us to do that, we need to have partnership with the local church as well as language under our belt. So I've been in language school for, I think it's about 4 or 5 months now, going on and off. It was an interesting transition for us because we came out here with my wife, Brittany, 6 months pregnant with our third child. And so I didn't start doing language really at all until the baby was born. And then I took about a month or two of like tutoring. It wasn't as consistent as going to language school 5 days a week. Just so that I could be home helping out with Brittany and the new baby. And then I started, I guess that was five months ago. Yeah. So I've got a few more months that's kind of broken up because we have some traveling stuff going on in ministry. But yeah, we really got to get language under your belt first. And it is interesting for us though, because we're connected with a pretty affluent church. Our pastor is actually the superintendent of Thailand, and so he speaks English very well, and the majority of his staff also speaks English pretty well, and that helps, but at the same time it hurts us because
it's almost like a crutch, right?
Exactly.
You want to speak the Thailand language, and they're speaking, and it's like, you're trying to speak their language, you're like, man, it's so awful, let me just speak to you in English. And it sort of like deflates you a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I'll go into meetings and I can understand a lot of what they're saying, but I'm not good at being able to speak it yet and communicate it in a quick manner. And so I'll be sitting there and I can be like, yep, I know what you're saying. I got it. Okay, cool. And then when it comes time for me to like respond, I'm kind of like, let me just say it in English, because if I talk, it sounds like I'm a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old speaking.
Right.
And so.
Did you ever get to that point where it's just like, you know what? I know I'm messing up, but I'm just gonna go ahead with this and fall on my face.
Yeah, that's pretty much every time that I speak for the most part. Because Thai is a tonal language, I can have all the words right, but have the tones wrong, and so. A lot of the time, I've been given grace by a lot of the guys that I'm working with, and they understand what I'm saying. They just know that what I'm saying is incorrect. So it's all good. And a lot of people too. They want to practice their English with me, which is, I feel like, is even I hate saying this, but I think that's even more annoying for me, anyways, because it's like, no, I want to speak Thai. I want to have a conversation with you, and they're just like,
yeah.
I was playing soccer with a guy a couple weeks ago, and I was trying to have a conversation in Thai. We were talking about the game or whatever, and he was just like, I'm interested in speaking English. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, fine. So yeah, it's.
But it's the way I see it as is like, you help me, I help you. Like you help me, like in most because like you help me speak Portuguese, and I help you. So it's like almost like it's like two-way or almost something like that.
No, definitely, and I think you just gotta give yourself grace, and pray that people give you grace. We're blessed to be in Bangkok, which is a really big city, and there's lots of people that speak English. If we lived, in a less touristy area, we wouldn't really have that grace.
Awesome.
So it's a good place to be for our first term. Yeah.
So you're working on your language now. Is there something where God is like nudging at your heart, saying, "This is where I want to direct you to," or is it you're sort of figuring out that process?
I think, I don't know. I came from a place of being in full-time ministry, and also having kind of my own ministry company on the side where I was doing a lot of video work, and a lot of what I was doing is really fast-paced. And so the hardest part being here is just the transition from going fast-paced, go, especially itinerating, where, I mean, you itinerated, it's go, and then you get to the field and everything just slows down, and you feel...
Which, by the way, I just want to sidetrack here. And you pretty much have one of the most, like, dictionary, encyclopedia, status itineration game. Like, I feel like I've seen your promotion, I've seen the hard work you've done, the marketing, sending out, and communicating. And I just want to say, like, I'm absolutely impressed of, what you guys did. Having that style, did that help your itineration process for you to get you to that goal?
Yeah, so we actually finished, we technically finished in 6 months raising our support.
Wow.
And we ended up having some clerical errors where we had to resubmit like 40% of our monthly support because it was the paperwork wasn't done properly or something. And that ended up taking another 2 months to do. And then once we finished that, it was another month before we were really able to leave. And so, yeah, because I worked all the way up until MTMR, the missionary training, missionary renewal. And then we didn't start itinerating until that was over. And then we came out here in April. So it was about 9 months total. But I did a lot of stuff that was different that I unfortunately was not reimbursed for. So I mean, if I was going to give advice on itinerating, I wouldn't do it the way that we did it. We sent out coffee gifts to over 130 supporters and potential supporters. So about half of those people were not supporting us that we sent coffee to. But out of that, I think it was like 70 or 80 of them that weren't supporting us. But out of that, we had 25 of those people pick us up monthly.
Wow.
Just from the coffee. Never had to meet them. Never sat down with them or anything. They just boom picked us up. So.
And that's totally unheard of. That's totally unheard of where someone picks you up, just by email or something like you did coffee beans.
Yeah, I mean, we sent out coffee, and we sent. What we did first is we actually sent a case document to all these people first. We sent that out over the summer, and then once Christmas came around, that's when we sent the coffee to them again, we sent coffee to them. And what we did with our case documents, one of the things we heard, and also just being a missions director at one point for a church, whenever we got letters in the mail from missionaries, I'll just be honest, I really didn't always have the time to really dive into it and look at it, especially if I knew already that we didn't have the funds in place to be able to pick someone up. And so I could just see it was from a missionary without even having to open it, and a lot of the time it would get trashed. And I talked to lots of other people that did the same thing. I know it sounds terrible, but it's just kind of that's how it is. And so to combat that, one of the things we did was we sent out like a full pamphlet that was partially see-through. And so it had our faces on it, and it was almost impossible for someone to look at it and be like, I'm going to trash this. Because it was so well done, it was so well put together. And that's not like patting myself on the back. My mom actually had the idea of what if it was see-through. So it's like, it makes it harder for someone to throw it away. So we sent that out to about 150, 160 people. It might have been more than that. And then we did the coffee again to the smaller select group. We also did Facebook targeted marketing, which again we were not funded for at all. I put about $300 up of my own money for that. And the way we did it was, and I can post a video about this at some point, and there's tons of YouTube videos on how to do this, but you can put a pixel tracker on your website. And so whenever someone visits your website, it registers and follows them back to Facebook. It's the same concept of when you look at something on Instagram or like an ad on Facebook or on some other site, and then you go to Facebook and you start seeing those ads everywhere. It's the same deal, and unless you're constantly washing or caching, deleting all your cache files and cookies, you're going to get followed back. And so we did a video. I ran that on my Facebook page, and you can set it up to where I think it's like you only have to put $1 down on like your boosting on Facebook, and then anyone that views your video for up to 10 seconds, you can then run targeted ads towards them. So we pushed that out, and then we also submitted an email list, which we were able to get from our district of all of the different churches and pastors' email addresses that they had, at that point, up to date. Which I don't know if all districts do that, but our district did that in Tennessee. And so I was able to run targeted ads over email, and because I had their email, like 50% of these pastors use their personal email. It's the same email they use for Facebook. So I was able to target market pastors on Facebook. So I had about 15 churches or pastors pick us up because they saw our video on Facebook.
Wow.
And a lot of them I never had to meet with, just because they saw the video, and you've seen our video. It's pretty quality for the most part, and And
it's really not hard to do. All you need is some patience, a pretty good DSLR. Consumer items, they're just as good as professional items. So I think this generation, we're coming out with new ways of itinerating. And my idea was, what if a missionary associate or a missionary didn't have to fail in itineration because of traveling and so on and so forth. So it's good that we have missionaries that are tech savvy that are paving the way. I sort of want to switch gear a little bit. So what exactly are you doing? So you're basically working alongside of the church over there, and he's the superintendent of the whole district, or is it the whole country?
The whole country. Thailand is split up into different districts, or POCs is what we call them, and each one has its own superintendent, and then there's the superintendent over all of Thailand. And so they have relational districts, and then they also have geographical districts, which it's really interesting how that all works. But I think it's a little over 300 churches within Thailand, the Assemblies of God, for over 60 million people.
So are you saying is there room for growth? Is that what they're looking to do, or is it pretty much congested?
No. There's massive. I mean, we're less than 1% reached as a whole nation, still, and so it's really interesting opportunity for us. So one of the things that we're doing, it's a different animal, I think, for us, because we're not doing the quote unquote hands-on church planning in a sense at this point, just because we don't have the language under our belt. But one of the things that we are doing, because we've attended a lot of church planning conferences, and we've been a part of ARC and Grow Conference and things like that back in the States. And so our pastor really connected with us on that. And so we've been helping their church develop their serving teams, their dream teams, their discipleship classes. And we're helping them get curriculum from the States, and then we are kind of funding it being translated and allowing them to I created some promotional material to help get Royal Rangers International translated, which has been a huge success in Singapore. And so the hope is that we can start doing Royal Rangers, here in Thailand. And it's very different than Royal Rangers in the States. I don't know if you did Royal Rangers at all.
Yeah.
But that's kind of it could be a really big thing here. Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts are actually a really big thing here in Thailand. So that's one of the projects. My wife did a lot of kids ministry back in the States, and she was also a full-time nurse. And so she's looking at, she's connecting with a group right now that works with women that are in human trafficking. And she's going to be working more on like a clinical side. So if women are hurt or they need kind of a third party to help them diagnose some of the issues that they're having. Thais, they want to save face, and they don't want to have to go to a doctor because of being in a sex industry or something like that. And so this kind of helps them, and through that we're able to connect with them relationally and then hopefully share the gospel in the future. And then my wife wrote a lot of kids curriculum back in the States, and so she's been getting a lot of that translated here. That's one of the big kind of outcries that we've been hearing a lot from not just churches but from other missionaries that are here of we need curriculum.
Oh, really?
We need stuff that's in Thai. And Thai, you can't just throw your curriculum in Google Translate and have it come out perfectly on the other end. And so we've had a few courses recently get translated and starting to have it distributed, which is really cool. And then for me, that's actually one of the things that I'm doing is I'm creating the Thailand Assemblies of God website right now. And on the website, it'll be able to do event registration for all the different events in different districts, as well as general council and things like that. They're able to do online giving through it, as well as we want it to be a platform where people can access free resources and curriculum and things like that. And then the hope is, and I shared this before, the hope is that it can become an online Bible school. And so right now they have a Bible school. There's a lot of different issues why they're kind of closing it, not shutting it down, but closing their main Bangkok campus.
Are they involved with Global University at all?
Yeah, so they are, but I don't know how to. They really like having someone teach the classes, and I think that's a cultural thing. And so what they're going to be doing, and I did this in the States. I worked with Lifeway for a little while, and then I worked with another company that worked with the NFL and developing online training classes and platforms and things like that. And so we're developing, or I'm developing a similar platform right now that's going to have video courses with different professors that speak Thai, and whether it's Thai pastors or Thai leaders or even missionaries that have been here for years that speak really well Thai. And so I'm not doing any of the filming. They have a team that's doing all of that, but each class is going to be anywhere from 10 to 20 hours of video that will be broken up into different lessons, and they'll be able to view all of it on their phone, iPad. It's very similar to how Berean and Global University does their online classes, right. But they don't have that in Thai. They only have the written booklets in Thai.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these classes they're not just like global level classes, they're also like master's level classes. And so we're just kind of in the beginning process of doing that. We'll also have an app that we're gonna have kind of coexisting with the website to be able to do push notifications and submit assignments and things like that. And also has like chat groups, so students can chat with professors that are maybe teaching in a different POC. So, and that's kind of the idea, is that each district would have its own sort of Bible school center, and they might be 1 month where the teacher's actually there able to teach and communicate, and then there'll be other months where it's all video based or do it by yourself. But yeah, that's going to be the future of it, is that people will be able to do it by themselves, and wherever they are in Thailand, they'll be able to go through the courses.
Yeah, it's really interesting how you guys implemented those video courses and how it's embraced. Over here, it's a little bit different. It's more relational. A lot of one-on-ones, having almost like a family time. My question is, how is it that describe the culture over there? How is it like your everyday to day life? How is it? How do you feel like the people over there are, I don't want to say receptive, but are you able to like make a friend over there or anything like that?
Yeah, no, people are very relational here, and we've got 3 little kids, 3 and under, and 2 of them are blonde, and so in an Asian context, little blonde white kids are just the cutest things ever. So really everywhere we go, we're able to make friends pretty quickly because of our kids. Going on a deeper level takes a little more time, and because I don't have the language under my belt fully, a lot of what I'm doing is I'm playing sports with people and joining small groups and just kind of hanging out and being around. We go to church every Sunday. I preach, every so often. I so far in the last 9 months, I've done about, I think it's six different preaching outdates, whether it's been at a church with a translator or at a camp with a translator or something like that. And that's actually been really fun for me because I'm a preacher. I like to preach. And so,
you have a lot of gifts, So what gift is like? Do you feel like you're more passionate about, and of course, have a calling to align with that. But
yeah.
Where do you see yourself ultimately molding out to be?
I mean, I think it's gonna be different in every season that we're here because of where I'm at with language right now. I'm very dependent on translators for doing platform style ministry. But developing relationships with people, I go and I play soccer and badminton and things like that, and I'm able to communicate well enough just to be like, hey, do you go to church anywhere? I got to talk with a Muslim guy. We call them cousins here, and got to talk to a cousin recently, and they're just like, no, I go to mosque, and it was just very like chill and relaxed, of like, yeah, this is what I do, this is what you do, and you as you continue to engage with people over time and they see your life, that's really how you're able to reach people in this context right now. And until I'm able to speak better, I have to be okay with that, and it's sometimes it's disheartening, I'll be honest, but expectation wise, when I came out here, I thought that I'd be able to do a whole lot more. And God's really been working on my heart of kind of just getting back to the basics of just my own spiritual formation. And because of that, I'm able to see a lot more fruit being dependent on God for different doors to open and different relationships to connect and opportunities to arise. And what's funny is everything that we had, I was talking to my dad about this the other day, everything that we said we were going to do while itinerating is actually already happened or has already been in the process of happening. And
it's a little bit of the opposite of me. Everything I said I was going to do, God has totally changed that. It's like the total opposite. Yeah.
But no, I feel like that's the case for a lot of missionaries. But the thing is, for us, it's like it was almost a letdown that these things were happening, because it's like, man, were our goals too small? Like were our dreams not big enough? And so we said that we wanted to be able to plant a church, plant a campus. And we're actually in the process now of planning a satellite campus, one of the first satellite campuses in Thailand, where it'll be a live uplink from the main church campus to another one that's about 45 minutes away. And we're hoping to launch that this fall. And it's weird because I'm not again, because I can't speak the language, I'm not like leading the charge on this thing. I'm behind the scenes.
Right.
So like, I'm a pastor's kid. I've been in ministry for years, and I'm used to kind of being the guy in the front, in the spotlight, like rah rah, pushing things, and it's completely opposite in that sense. The things that we said we were going to do, that God's called us to, they're all happening. They're all in process.
Wow.
But we're not doing it from the position that we thought we'd be doing it from. And I think that's how the expectation has kind of shifted. Or that's why it's like a letdown.
I guess in a way it's almost God, I guess the way I look at it as, you are almost think you have this pride in yourself. Like for me, for example, it's almost like, you know what, I got this, man, I look good, I preach that word really good, but sometimes we need that humbling, from God and the Holy Spirit to say like, you know what, I'm taking you to some places, but it's not exactly the way that you think it's going to be. And that's just the wonderful thing about it, is that it's not about God didn't call like someone qualified. He called the unqualified. And during the process, he's sort of like refining you. And that's the awesome thing that I'm learning. And I feel like that's something that he's doing with you already. And even though the things that you guys had checked off are going to be the goals, in some way there's a miracle factor that happens pretty much, right?
Yeah. No, I think the greatest miracle that we've seen has just been in our own lives. Within my wife and I's life and our kids, there's just been, I was trying to explain it to someone recently, but it's like, I feel like we've grown, it's been like, I feel like we've lived 9 years of spiritual growth in the last 9 months.
Wow.
And there are places in our lives, in our hearts, that have just died to Christ. And there's still that dying process and things that are still being sort of stripped off of our lives, that pride, like you're talking about. And, there's a certain element of it that's heartbreaking. And there are days where, Brittany and I have gone, gosh, are we really supposed to be here? Like, what are we
Right.
doing here? And, I have to be careful saying this, just because there's a fine line between doing and being. And I don't like the idea of coming out here, for 3-4 years, and the only things that we've seen God do have been in our own lives. And I've heard stories of people coming out and they only reach one person, in their whole career and everything that they're doing. And there's a certain part of me that I know God's working on, but there's a part of me that's like, God, did you just send me for one? Like, is it my life like worth more than that? And that's pride. I mean, just straight up. And you want to be able to say that you've done more. And
Right.
and God is way more concerned about who you are in the process of it, than how many people you reach. I said this at one of our small group meetings recently. If I build the kingdom and lose my soul, was it really worth it?
Right.
If I build up this great kingdom and I bring all these people to Jesus, but my kids are all not serving the Lord, they're all screwed up and messed up, and my marriage is in shambles, all this different stuff. If I build up the kingdom, am I really glorifying God by not taking care of the other things that are really important? And I that sort of talk scares me, because
Right.
I know there's a balance, and between the ethical dilemma of, no, we're here, we're serving, we're missionaries, we're trying to reach people, but no, we still have to be healthy in the process. We can't kill ourselves. And kind of going back to the whole culture thing, like in Bangkok, things are so fast paced, and at the same time, things are incredibly slow paced. Slow in getting things done because of the culture and because of working with people and language barriers and all this sort of stuff, and the traffic is always horrible. I hate getting into my car. I'd rather take my motorcycle going anywhere, because you'll end up you're trying to go 15 minutes down the road and it'll take you an hour or an hour and a half to get there. And so it's stuff like that where you have to be patient with the process and be patient with yourself, but at the same time be ready to run at the pace that God is running at and God is moving at, because sometimes things seem like they're moving really slow, but God is actually aligning things at rapid speed, because you've been faithful, because you have been patient. And my wife and I were saying, like, that's why we feel like, and we see all these doors opening and all these things happening that we, told all of our supporters that we were going to see done. It's all happening, and a lot of it's happening without us doing anything. It's just that we're here, and now it's happening, and it's like we're witnessing God, do all this stuff, and we just, because we've been here, we've lit a fire under certain people or certain pastors, or we've been in these backroom meetings where stuff's being discussed about curriculum or planning or strategy, and one of us gets called on and asked, hey, what do you think about this? And there's that brief moment where God uses us to speak into a situation, and then we're back behind the scenes again. It's stuff like that, and it's hard to that might be hard to explain.
No, it totally makes sense. It absolutely does, and and that's the reason why I love God so much, is because I don't understand him, but that's not my job. My job is not to understand him. It's getting on to be 30 minutes interview. I have these two questions. My one question is, what is your greatest challenge? Okay, let me back up a little bit. I want to connect to the people that don't know about the missionary life. I want to sort of like bring the spotlight onto something that's happening for generations. What are the greatest challenges that you or your family have faced? It could be, some people's itineration, or maybe it's a cultural shock, or maybe it's a conflict with the people, or maybe the pastors over there. What's one thing that you did not expect, and you felt like God is taking you through, or currently, perhaps God is taking you currently right now?
Well, I mean, in 9 months, I would say all the above. We've had conflict. We've had conflict with other missionaries. It was itinerating was hard. Even though we were able to do it really quickly and successfully, it was really difficult, and it took a lot of energy out of us. And because we were so go, there was sort of this void once we got into the field. I kind of said this before, where everything just slowed down, and we almost had like these unspoken high expectations of, being a missionary here on the field was going to be like going on short-term missions trips all the time, where we're out on the street and we're doing all this stuff, or we're preaching all the time, we're getting involved right away, and we sort of knew that we knew in our heads that no, this isn't going to be that. We're coming here to live here. This isn't just a constant missions trip. But there was still, because of the fast going of itineration, there was that desire for things to move quicker. I would just say the biggest thing is expectations. You have to realize you're stepping into an environment where the spiritual warfare is heightened, and the enemy does not want you to succeed. The enemy does not want your marriage to go well, or your kids to act well. He doesn't want you to reach anybody, and doesn't want you to be a light. And whatever he can do to suppress you, or instead of turning the focus on reaching people, you turn the focus onto yourself and, just trying to survive. There is a level of, trying to survive, and, depending on what context you're in, that's, You know, you got to know the right place to go to the grocery store to get the food that's going to fit your budget, and you got to, you know, take your kids to the right school and all this different stuff. You're living life here. You know, I think that's one of the biggest things that we try to explain to our supporters is like, we are living here. Like, no, I'm not working 9 to 5, you know, at some church. I'm living here. I'm learning language. I'm trying to take care of my family on a much smaller budget than it would have been in the States. And so, you know, it's a little bit of all the above, I think, but that all kind of falls under the umbrella of expectations. And I'm not saying have low expectations. I would say have high expectations on yourself for putting your faith and trust in God. If you come out here thinking, and I know you know this, if you come out here thinking that, you know, you got this, and that you can handle it, you know, it doesn't matter how many mission trips you've been on, doesn't matter how many times you've lived overseas or whatever, it's still going to be hard, and you have to have high expectations on God, you know, being faithful and taking care of things for you, because there are going to be days where you're incapable of taking care of yourself.
And once again, I want to say thank you, because it's guys like you, guys that I've met through itineration. It's funny how you say, you know, you just got to feel like you got to survive. And I just wish there was a manual or I feel like I'm thriving because another missionary survived. And I'm hoping that's what, you know, these videos could do. It could help someone not just survive but thrive, and we could really see the kingdom, you know, accelerating, because that's what, at the end of the day, you know, we all suffer for the good, we all suffer for the gospel, but at the end point, we're co-laborers, and we're there to empty hell. And I love that video, by the way, about the analogy that the statues with the hands coming out of hell, and you mentioned that we're trying to empty hell, and I feel like we're able to do that if missionaries are healthy, if missionaries are surviving, and we're thriving as well when God shows us, you know, the over the mountain experience. And my last question for you is, there's a quote that I got from a missionary online. His name is Nevin Alexander, and he said something very interesting. He said, "I want to make missions less mysterious to people." And my question is to you, why missions? Why, you know, it might be to a everyday churchgoer, or it could be a teenager, or it could be someone that doesn't go to church at all. Why missions?
No, I'm actually preaching a message on this in a few weeks back in the States, and talking about how Peter, when he had that transition from only sharing the gospel with Jews to sharing it with Gentiles. Somebody said it at a prayer fellowship recently, that was like his second conversion. And wow. Because he went from giving his life to Christ to being baptized in the Holy Spirit to going out and sharing the gospel with, you know, his people. And then there was that moment that shifted where he said, this is not just for me, this is not just for my people, but this is for the world. That's when like Acts 1:8 became real. You know, this isn't just for Judea, but it's for Samaria, and it's to the ends of the earth. And so I think, you know, there has to be a switch that's hit. You know, like for me, when I was called to missions at a very young age, it was after I was baptized in the Holy Spirit. It was after I had given my life to Christ. And it was that shift of like, this God is so good to me, I want to take that to other people, and for other people to experience it. And so I think that living a missional life, and making it less mysterious, comes down to just pursuing God and starting to, when you truly pursue God with everything in your life, it becomes less about you, it becomes more about Him. And when it becomes about Him, you start to learn what He wants. And He wants to take that gospel. He wants to take that good news. He wants everyone to be able to have a relationship with Him and experience His presence. And that only comes through that radical pursuit. And I say radical, David Platt's book, when I first read it, I was like, this isn't really that radical. And I remember God saying, yeah, that's the point. Like, it's really not that radical. It's just living your life for Christ and wanting other people to have it too. That's what missions is. And I think the tragedy is we as a Western church have made it so complicated, or we've put it maybe even on some kind of a pedestal that it really does not belong. We think missionaries are up here and the rest of the church and believers are down here. But it's really something that's even, because we're all called to be missionaries and apostles and people that are reaching. I know I'm taking too much time, but I'll say this if you want to use it. As a kid, I saw missionaries as heroes, and then as I started traveling and filming missionaries and getting to know them, I met a lot of broken people, and I met a lot of people that were hurting, and people that in my opinion probably didn't even belong in the mission field. And that again, that's probably something offensive that you don't want me to say, but I think that there's lots of people in the States and just around the world that they put missionaries on this high level and think that they could never get to that place, and so they themselves don't live a missional life because it's something separate, it's something higher up, it's something different. And I think that's the mystery that I would want to break, is that no, we just said yes. Like we were sane enough and crazy enough all in one to just say yes to God and just do what He asked us to do. And we could have lived this same missional life in the States, but God told us to go to the other side of the world. So
well, thank you so much, Nick. I just want to say thank you for taking the time into pouring into my life, but also I believe you're going to be pouring into others' lives too, and hopefully by the grace of God it could inspire someone through your testimony. So it was great seeing you. It was my first meeting in Missouri, and it was really cool that we remained having that contact. But hopefully hopefully you open up a YouTube page. It would be nice seeing you there.
Yeah, no, I have one. It's Serban Story is the name of it. Okay. I haven't really posted anything to it. I'm looking at putting our update videos up on there. Right now I just have them on Vimeo, and then we're doing I have a video of taking my whole family to Chinatown during Chinese New Year that I'm posting soon. So hopefully I post that before this goes up. But yeah, it'll be
awesome.
It'll be
and
cool.
Anything else that you want people to follow? Like, any focus? I'll give them all your social media.
Yeah. Our Instagram is Serban Story. You can go to Serban Story or Facebook.com/Serban Story or SerbanStory.com, and our last name is Serban, not Serban Story. I had someone try to look me up. Nick Serban Story. Who is that? That's not him. So yeah.
Thank you for watching another episode of Conversations Abroad. If you want to see our previous episodes, you could click on the thumbnail. If you want to see future content on what we provide, you could click on the subscribe button, hit the bell for further notification. Thank you for watching.